Hi Pirates, how are you? Hope you guys are having an awesome night. Thank you guys who are already here. We're gonna wait a few more minutes so everybody can get here. So I'm going to put my microphone on mute. But if you have any doubts or questions, you can either write them in the chat box or you can text the WhatsApp group. Woo! Get ready for the best transition session ever. Hey guys, so we're gonna start at 10:10. So if you wanna just check something else, do something really fast in the next 5 minutes, you can. I would play a song, but we've been getting complaints about copywriting on these webinars, so I can't play a song right now. But yep, so I will turn my microphone on at 10:10, and we will start. Okay, guys, hope you're doing well. I'm going to turn my camera on for a second. Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing awesome. So we are going to go ahead and start. Today's topic is on how to hack oGE and oGT. So I hope there'll be a lot of good content for you. It's much, much heavier than the last webinar. So have a pen ready, have paper ready. Again, remember our principles of disruption, question everything, okay? So here we go. Okay, let me share my screen. Ever-ending screen. Slideshow from beginning. Cool. Okay. So, hey everybody, welcome to How to Hack oGE and oGT. How to jump 2 tiers in 6 months. Yep. So first off, again, for those of you that might not have been in the first webinar, I haven't seen it yet. Congratulations again for being elected VP's oGET for 2017-2018. This is going to be a fucking amazing year, guys. We're going to do awesome things, and this is just the beginning. So before we move into the big content, just a quick few reminders. Hey, guys, I'm Elena. In case you didn't know, I'm your MCVP oGET for the next year. If you want to follow me on Snapchat, that is my Snapchat. I love Snapchat, so please do. It'll be awesome. And that's my Twitter in case you also use Twitter. And yeah, so again, just to remind everybody that why are we here and why are we pirates? Because we are entrepreneurs, because we are fighters. We fight for what we believe in. We are so determined to make what we need to make happen. We are disruptive. We think disruptively. We act disruptively. We are adventure seekers. Things that we like to do things that haven't been done before, and we are always solution oriented with anything that comes our way. And that's right now why we are pirates. And another reminder is that oGET is our jump in area. So what's the area? That is this, because it needs the most innovation, the most questioning, the most change in mindset in order to grow, to be the best area that it can be. A reminder that before any strategy that you have, before anything comes the people, becomes you, becomes me, becomes AI, becomes your members, becomes your TLs. And before them becomes their behaviors, right? Because they're the ones that act. But before their behaviors comes the mindset. So for this, the mindset is the most important thing because that leads to behaviors and that then leads to people, which leads to strategy. So that is the kind of methodology we're using here. And again, the pirate principles of disruption, something to always, always, always remember. Really be sure to practice them in this webinar and in every single part of your transition that you're doing so far. Be questioning everything. Always be learning. Always see this as your first day in ISIC and your last day in ISIC. Not for permission, and always welcome failure because that's how you can learn and actually disrupt. Dangerous ideas brought to action is what we are looking for here. So, and again, our wildly important goal is 450 realizations by July 31st, 2017. Don't ever forget it. You will see this number all, and I mean all the time. So that is how we're measuring our impact, our purpose, and everything, which is why it's not that I'm like, I only care about numbers. No, I don't. I care about experiences the most, but I know that this number is how you can measure the experiences, which is why it's so important. So to go through what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to do 4 small different blocks that should take, again, hopefully not the whole hour. And if you have any questions or doubts along the way, just you can put them in the WhatsApp group so I can see them, okay? Cool. So the first one is about what's with hacking. So we hear this word a lot in ISIC, especially recently, like what the fuck does it mean? How is it, you know, why? Kind of put some context into that. Then we'll do a little bit of a clarification between oGE and oGT. Since last year, this was oGAP, and then it became oGT, and now it's oGET. And then we'll go into the kind of core of this is about the GCPs from this past year, about how you can really jump 2 tiers in 6 months. We'll go to an example of LCs that did that. And then last, of course, we'll have a reflection space and an action space to see how you can actually apply it in your term. So super simple. Again, any doubts or questions, just please go ahead and ask them along the way. And so to start, because the first thing again is about like what's with hacking, right? We hear this word a lot. What the fuck with hack? So to go through the basic definition of the verb to hack, it's to cut, notch, slice, chop, or sever something with or as with heavy irregular blows. So like literally, if you imagine like chopping down the tree, you could say you're hacking down the tree or hacking the tree. But another definition of this is to modify a computer program or electronic device or write a program in a skillful or clever way. So basically what hacking means in this context is about we are breaking something down, we're chopping it down, and we're rebuilding it in a more skillful or a more clever way. And that's kind of the way that we look at this in ISIC. Interesting, right? And basically with this, hacking is how we describe the action of being disruptive. Because in order to actually disrupt things, we have to hack the system. We have to hack our customer flow. We have to hack our teams, our processes, everything. Imagine, you know, like the school system, right? So I know that some of us, you know, are ones that work really, really hard and we study a lot, and others of us don't study that much, but yet we still, like, you can get good grades. Because it's a difference between working your ass off and hacking the system. So you figure out either, okay, how can I get good grades with doing by this and this and this, rather than how do I just read all the time and study all the time, right? So you're doing just as much and in like a lot less time. I'm not saying that that's, you know, what you should do in school. It's just kind of an example that I hope you guys can relate with, because some classmates study so much and some don't at all. So that's the idea here, is like how we can actually hack oGE and oGT to really make us grow and make us disruptive, make us achieve 450, make us so relevant so that our purpose is so loud it cannot be forgotten, and that we really make the impact and provide Mexico the leaders that we so really, really, really need, that we went over in the last webinar. So, and when it comes to our term, like I said, the kind of subtitle of this webinar is about how you jump 2 tiers in 6 months, right? So if you guys haven't seen this yet, this is the current like tier breakdown of the growth model for oGT or oGET. And basically, like for those of you that don't know what the growth model is, if you go into your links on your transition doc, you can go and look through it. And basically, it's kind of like the suggested path that you go through to grow your area. And so you can be in 5 different tiers, depending on how many realizations you do in your area. 5 being the lowest, tier 1 being the highest. And the idea is that you jump 1 tier per year, at least. Now, the thing about being disruptive is that jumping 1 tier in a year is not at all going to cut it. Because if we all jump 1 tier, yeah, maybe we can do it. But the thing is, being disruptive means that you go from tier 5 to tier 3 by the time Everest comes. You go from tier 4 to tier 2 by the time Everest comes. You go from tier 3 to tier 1 by the time Everest comes. If you're in tier 2 or tier 1 already, which right now is just Leon, it means that you figure out either how to break tier 1 or you create a new tier of your own before Everest comes, right? That's the whole idea about being disruptive. So when we're thinking, you know, I don't want you to think, okay, I'm in tier 5, how can I jump to tier 4? No. If you're doing 5 exchanges, you need to figure out how you can do 25 exchanges. If you're doing 10 of 12 exchanges, you need to figure out how you can do 30 exchanges, 40 exchanges. If you're doing more than 17 exchanges, you have to do more than 50. It's simple. So you basically have to double what you've done in a year in 6 months. That's what being disruptive in your LC means. And oh my God, Elena, that sounds so scary. What the fuck? That doesn't sound smart. I don't know if I can do that. Here, that's what being disruptive means. It's about trying new things, putting our dangerous ideas into action. And you know what? Yeah, maybe you try all these new things and you fuck up and you don't grow 2 tiers in 6 months. That's okay, because you've learned, and then you can figure out how to actually grow 2 tiers in 6 months from that failure. And that's the whole idea behind this, right? So before we go into, again, like exactly, okay, what are the GCPs? How can I actually start doing these? What are the strategies? Again, remember, mindset, then behaviors, then people, then strategy. Okay, mindset, behaviors, people, then strategy, right? So to kind of ground us then in this, remember, coming always with the mindset, we're going to go back and look at the basics of our 2 products that we have, right? We have Global Talent, Talento Global, and we have Emprendedor Global, right? And the thing is, with this, we are literally selling and delivering 2 completely different products here in this area. It's a lot. 2 completely different products. Back in, you know, only a few months ago, Emprendedor Global was actually a sub-product of Talento Global. So it made sense that it was now one area. But after International Congress this past year in Bologna, they decided, hey guys, It doesn't make sense that Emprendedor Global is a subproduct of Talento Global because it's so different. It actually needs to be completely separate. So now we have two different kinds of processes, two different kinds of opportunities, two different kinds of EPs, two different kinds of everything that we have to do. Yeah? And to go again, basically the difference, so we're all aware of this. We're going to go through first global talent and then global entrepreneurs. And global talent, again, this is the one, the program that's more like long-term, right? A long-term cross-cultural professional experience. Basically, a young person works abroad to advance their goals. That is literally like the value proposition for your EPs, right? They're going on an internship to develop themselves and their career for a long amount of time. oGT sells this. So IGT people out there, you should know this, right? It's about hiring interns that add a competitive advantage to your business and the marketplace, right? Because we live in a global world and none of us can ignore that. And this allows us to actually be able to do business better. Right? This cross-cultural understanding through doing that. So it is you, as an enabler, you either work with a multinational, so a really, really big giant-ass company, a small, medium enterprise, or a startup, right? And you do this anywhere from 6 to 78 weeks. However, the majority of them are from 3 months to 18 months. Most of them being either 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. Yeah? You are paid in this. That's the biggest thing about this program. This is the only one that ensures that you actually get a salary, a stipend for doing this. And really the whole purpose of doing this is having a professional experience so you can develop all these hard and soft skills, come back to Mexico, and start implementing what you learned to make this country better. Yeah? So this is global talent in a nutshell, right? Now, the thing is that you should note between global talent and global entrepreneurs already is about the startup thing. I'm sure you guys are like, well, what do you mean it can be a startup? Because if you're doing a long-term paid experience, it's a global talent. If it's unpaid short-term, then it's a global entrepreneur. It's pretty simple. Yeah? Okay. So if you have any questions, again, just text them in the WhatsApp group. On to global entrepreneurs, right? Emprendedor Global. So this is a very, very similar one, but it's also just as similar to global volunteers. So it's kind of like the connection between the two products. It's a program, it's a short-term global internship opportunity for a young person to up and see kind of how it works and develop themselves through that so they can use those skills to become an entrepreneur in some aspect later in life. Again, it's also a cross-cultural experience. You're advancing your goals and you're really trying to grow as much as you can and learn as much as you can as a person. So again, the only kind of enabler you would ever work with in this program is a startup. That is it. Only working with startups, right? And it's anywhere from 6 weeks to 12 weeks. So you won't do anything that's longer than 3 months. The other thing about this is that it's unpaid, right? So the people that go have to be able to have some sort of money to sustain themselves for the 6 to 12 weeks that they're there. Usually they'll have a host provided, some meals provided, some transportation, just like a global volunteer experience would, but they still have to have a lot of money to invest in, right? And still they're getting professional experience out of this. Global Entrepreneur sells this in the Americas, which we'll go over in our next webinar. But something to note is that you really don't need work experience for this program, right? If you look at the value proposition for enablers, it doesn't talk about how you're having a global intern to increase your competitive advantage. It's really about bringing young entrepreneurial, energetic, skillful talent, right? Young people that are just willing to work and learn as much as they can. And that's why Global Entrepreneur exists, right? So the biggest thing between this is that this is more about the experience. You don't have to, it's about jump-starting your first professional experience. And this one is about really getting in depth to the professional experience that you can have. Yeah. So again, if you have doubts, text them in the WhatsApp group, but you guys need to know both of these like one-pagers about the products. Like, for sure, memorize these as much as you can, because if you don't understand your product, then I don't know how you're going to be able to make sure your TLs do, your members do, your LC does, right? Like you the back of your hand, for sure. And to go over a little bit more in depth of the kind of people that we're looking for in this, right? Because there's a lot of different people that you can have. With global talent, right, which is the long-term professional ones, we look for students in their last semester of university or recent graduates of university, right? It can be either these two, because in some countries, for the visa, they have to be a current student, but most companies do want people that are already graduated with some work experience, yeah? Opportunities in any of these 5 backgrounds, which are super, super, super broad. Again, we'll go more in depth into this in our next webinar, but just so you're aware, anything in business and marketing, IT, engineering, or teaching, yeah? And to do this, you have to usually be at an 80% English level, okay? There are some, like, English isn't as required, especially maybe if you're going somewhere in the Americas, but when you're recruiting, like, this is the kind of people we're looking for, people who speak English pretty much fluently, yeah? Then if you contrast this with Emprendedor Global, this is people that are current students, right? Students from their 3rd to 7th semester. And the important thing behind this is you're looking for people that are kind of studying these backgrounds, right? Because again, it's about the energy and like the want to learn and their work ethic that they have rather than their skill set, yeah? So in business administration and marketing and IT and in graphic design for these. And English, you don't have to have as high of a level. Usually around 50% is good because most of them happen in Latin America. So if you go to Brazil, yeah, it's important. If you go to the US, it's important, yes, but not all of the enablers require that you have English. This is the basic overview of these 2 products, right? Oh my God, Elena, it's kind of a lot. They are 2 very different. What am I supposed to do? How do I balance this? How am I supposed to disrupt both of these at once? I don't understand. It's okay, don't worry. Let's go on with the rest of the webinar, sorry, to figure out how. So the first step really to disrupting these is to focus. Focus is key to everything. As someone that comes from an entity that's all about, very square way of doing things, very process oriented, very like planning mindset, focus is always the answer to everything, for real. It really is. And it's for 40x too, which if you've heard Ector Doc, you've heard about 40x. So the first thing to note, if you are an LC that is in tier 5 or tier 4 by the start of your term, you really must plan to only run oGE or oGT for at least the first 6 months of your term, right? So yes, for VP's oGET, it's okay. If you're in tier 5 or tier 4, you only run oGE or oGT. I can work with you. It'll be a discussion about which one you choose, but it's important that you choose one because there's so many different subproducts, as you can see in each, that if you try to run both, it's going to be too crazy. You're not going to be able to balance all the different subproducts, right? You only run oGE or oGT until you develop it some, and then once you get a certain amount of approvals, then you're able to move on to working with another one, yeah? The second thing to note is that if you're in tier 3, you can either start to run, you have the option to run both, but the other thing is you can also choose to still stick with one program and specialize in all the subproducts that it has, right? So you can become the ultimate expert in that one, or you can start to work on developing the other side of this, yeah? It's up to you. Again, it's a conversation that we need to have. And this is only like, by when you guys arrive to Conal, which tier your LC will be in. Tier 5, tier 4, tier 3. Right now, Leon's the only one that's projected to be in tier 2. So they're the only one that will able to be run both at 2 different levels, yeah? So if you have doubts, if you have questions about that, it's okay. Don't worry. We'll go over it more. But just so you guys know, that's just kind of what the OD suggestion is going to be. And when you focus, you're actually able to disrupt the program so much easier. Yeah? So that concludes the kind of, I guess, the overall of the basics of oGE and oGT. Again, if you have doubts, you have anything about it, please let me know, because if you don't understand the product, it's going to be really hard for us to move forward at all in the transition process. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Like I said, disruptive mindset means you question everything. Yeah? Cool. Okay. So in order to go into this whole idea of hacking oGET, right, we have to go through some of the struggles that we have, right? So if you ask any of the VPs, the TLs, the members, some of you are in this right now, some of you will be experiencing this soon, yeah? There's 3 main things that I for sure have seen, especially since I came into the area, right? One, the approval process takes so freaking long. So the time that an EP applies to an opportunity, the time they are approved, it can take literally 5 to 6 months sometimes. The shortest I've ever seen it is like 2 weeks, but usually it's around 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the entity, depending on the opportunity. Even with GE, which is, I know, like, what the hell. It explains why members are have a hard time connecting to it. It explains why people get so frustrated so easily, because the impact is kind of far away and it takes so long to see anything tangible happen. The second thing that people complain about is ICX communication and timeline, right? So, oh, ICX does not answer my EP. Oh, ICX doesn't do this. Oh, ICX canceled the opportunity. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Oh, this is too long. Oh my God, they're making me wait a month for interviews with the enabler. All these kind of things, right? People complain about ICX so much in this slide, right? It's crazy. And a lot of it is because it's things that they don't have control over. And that's why it's so frustrating, because you can't control what ICX is doing, right? And I think the number one thing that I see all the time, even when we talk about focus and all these things, is that we have too many hard profiles to match because we can't reject anyone on the OP. With the opportunities portal, we can't say, no, you can't go on an internship, right? So that inability to say no actually hurts us in focus, and we don't know really how to balance that. It's just really hard to find how we can match the people that we have to the opportunities that exist and guarantee that they'll get approved, because the profiles are so specific, right? And it takes so long. So that's so many things. It seems like everything's messed up. Yes, a lot of things are messed up. And yes, the OP is hard to work with, Expo is hard to work with, but there are still so many things we can do, so many solutions we can find, so many ways we can disrupt this whole idea and this whole process and this whole area to make things not a struggle anymore. I hope that when my successor gives this webinar next year about how they can hack oGE and oGT in 2017, these struggles that we list here are not the struggles that they list. That is our job, to make our successors have different struggles for the first time ever in oGET. So, our secret recipe to hacking oGE and oGT consists of 4 different things. It consists of university relations, government projects, LC cooperations, and opportunity marketing. Now, some of this might seem disruptive. Some of it might not seem disruptive. I'm not here to tell you what is disruptive and what is not. You are to figure that out for yourself. This is for me to show you how LCs have grown a lot in the last year, in the last few years, so that you can use and learn from them to see how you can do even more, okay? So again, all of this is just perspective and input for you to have. This is not a you must do this, you must do this, you must do this. There's only one thing I'm gonna be like, you have to do, and it'll be simple. Don't worry, it won't freak you out, okay? But it's your job, again, to question everything. Learn as much as you can. Be humble. Talk to these people to figure out how you can disrupt this in your LC in the next year. So first we have Isaac and Veracruz, who really grew in the past 6 months just by having an SU and having certain basic things aligned. Then we had Isaac and Leon. And Isaac and Leon is the top 1 oGET LC this year. And they did this literally by having a government project. And finally, we have Isaac and Unam. And they grew this past year literally by just working with LC cooperations and using opportunity marketing. Super simple. Veracruz, Unam, and Leon, with an expansion, opportunity marketing, and with a government project. Oh, Elena, what the fuck are these things? I don't really understand. It's okay. We're going to go through them. Don't worry. We have Isaac and Unam. And the VP this past year, you guys, some of you might know him. He's quite famous. Danny Carrillo. He's also the LCP elect for Isaac and Unam, right? And though they haven't been the strongest LC in the past few months, in the first 8 months of their term, they were the LC that grew the most. This LC did like barely any oGT in 2015 and before, like barely any. And now they became the top 2 in just 1 year. Boom. From like 5 to 25. In just a few months. The kind of disruption we're looking for. And literally, if you ask Danny Carrillo how we did this, it's not anything, you know, genius. It's not anything, oh my God, wow, like I've never, you know, new and exciting. It's just that he was really connected to the purpose of the program, and he made sure his team was so connected, and he was very strategic about the things that he did, and he fought and he worked so hard every single day to make it happen. And it was literally about having LC cooperations and marketing those opportunities through the cooperations in his committee, right? So the first thing he did was have clear the LCs in the world that he was having opportunities, that he was approving opportunities with. So it was in Costa Rica, for example, in Peru, I think one in Brazil. It was only like 3 or 4 countries that he had with very specific profiles for each country, yeah? And it was clear that those LCs that he had, when IGT was selling their opportunities to enablers, they were selling his Mexican profiles. They weren't selling just randomness. They were selling Mexican profile, like UNAM Mexican profiles. And that ensured that these opportunities actually could provide an approval for his LC, for his people. The other thing he had to do was have clear the timeline for approving. So he knew exactly when IGT was selling, when they were supposed to have the opportunities in the time range. Once an EP applied to an opportunity, what the process was, how long it would take, what the interview was going to be like, how he could prepare them, when they'd have an answer by, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? So super, super clear. For some of you, maybe coming from GV, this seems like simple, right? But it's a little bit harder, again, and it's really important that you're so on top of LC cooperations, because you have to ensure that the opportunities they have can actually fit your EPs, right? And an important way to do this is through the way that you market them, right? So if you understand the kind of profiles that your LC partners are sharing, are selling, and the kind of JDs that they're selling to enablers, so they say, okay, hey, you know, this small medium company in my city, you, a Mexican recent graduate from this university to do this job of digital marketing to help grow your reach and your social media website by this %. Okay, cool. You know that LC is selling that. That means when you are promoting in your university, in your city, wherever you're promoting, that you promote the opportunity in this country. Let's say Costa Rica, for example. You're promoting this digital marketing opportunity in Costa Rica for people with this skill set to do this job. So it's so simple. And when you're doing the, once people register and you're calling them and you're doing the assessment, you know that, okay, this person either fits or does not fit. And you can say, oh, I'm sorry, you don't fit for this profile. Let me direct you somewhere else. If you can't, okay, yep. Go, boom, they follow the process and they're approved. And the only things that you ever promote are about these opportunities, the profiles and the JDs that you have. That is it. And it might seem like, oh my God, but there's so many more we can do, or you're going to lose so many leads. No, it's okay. Our conversion rate right now between open and approval is horrible. It's so bad. It's like 3%. You promote, the actual higher your conversion is. It doesn't matter how many leads you have as long as they convert to the approvals that you need. So if you have more doubts or more questions about how Denny was able to grow so much in his term, that's his WhatsApp number right there. And if you go to this bit.ly, you can see a video that he made that basically explains the basic things, okay? Talk to Maria Fuentes, his amazing successor, who I hope is watching this webinar right now, about kind of how he did that as well. So that is Isaac and Unam, and that is the first person, that is the first LC this year that was able to disrupt the way that they did things, yeah? Second, we have Isaac and Veracruz, woo, with Lina. Lina is such an amazing, nice, wonderful person. And when I came into my term, Veracruz was not doing very well in oGET at all. They were like dropping from last year. They were like they did not seem like an LC that was really gonna come out on top at all. With Lina, I saw how amazing and how smart she was and how good and amazing her market was in Veracruz. And we talked about some few things about focusing, about a few ways she could run her team and all these things. And all of a sudden, in just like a month, Lina went from a mediocre LC in oGET to the LC that has the most approvals until now in all of Isaac in Mexico in this area. Boom, super simple. And again, it wasn't like she was a, you know, she wasn't a genius and she didn't have, okay, I'm going to change everything and do it differently, right? She did basic processes, basic things. And the way that she was really able to make it happen was not just by working with her LC in Veracruz, it was about growing with an SU, right? So Veracruz has an expansion, that's Costa Rica. And through co-planning things with them, working in LC cooperations that benefited both Costa Rica and Veracruz, co-training of their teams, making sure they had an identity and they were doing things together, and capitalizing on each other's individual markets, they were able to do way more than just one LC was doing. and it was awesome. Super, super, super awesome. So if you guys either have an SU or you or LC is in the process of starting an SU or whatever it is, definitely reach out to Lena and talk to her about how she was able to really make those communication lines clear and how to really capitalize on this the most, so that you're able to do the same thing with your SUs. Go to this bit.ly. Lena's LC was presenting this good case practice in Apollo, and you can see the information from there. So again, this is not necessarily like, you know, these big, crazy, you know, disruptive mindset, but it was still ways that you were able to grow really, really fast. Super, 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 super simple. And our job here is to think about, okay, how we can take this and move forward in our year, but also how can we take it and disrupt still, make everything even better. So last but not least, we have Isaac and Leon. And Mal is the wonderful, amazing VP oGET this past year. And really the way that Isaac and Leon was able to grow so much is through literally just having a government partnership. And like I said, one of the biggest complaints that people have in oGET is they don't understand the iGET supply and what to sell and how to approve it, right? It's like super, super difficult. And literally this project that Isaac and Leon had, which existed before Mal's turn, but he was able to work with this government to like help make it even bigger and crazier, is literally this government project created iGET supply. Basically, they matched 27 people, and 24, I think, ended up going to like all engineering profiles, to engineering opportunities in the US and Canada and in Germany. And yeah, it was that this government enabler actually worked with the companies that had that provided the internships. They paid for the TN fee, and on the ICX side, they helped the EPs pay their fee. They helped with all the accommodation, a lot of the value delivery they supported with. They just need somebody that needed migration help and needed them working within and managing the EPs, right, and handling the process on the other side as well. And so that's why they found the value in ISEC, and they were able to go from, yeah, they have over 30 realizations already, and most of them are from just this project, just working with this, right? So it really came from a lot of synergy with PR. The thing that Mao had to work really, really hard with is about having a very clear communication and timeline and responsibilities between all parties, because he had to balance working with not only just the government project, but all the companies in Mexico, the companies in the US, in Canada, in Germany, the EPs, the ISEC in the US, ISEC in Canada, ISEC in Germany, at the MC level and at the LC level. So it was a lot of different things, but he handled all of the problems like a champ, right? And it all really pushed Isaac and Leon and oGET to be working towards something really purposeful and relevant, because the whole purpose behind this project was that it was capacitación sin fronteras. So these people, they would go abroad on this internship. They would work from anywhere from 3 to 6 months training in engineering, and they would come back to Mexico, and they would either have a job or be able to implement what they did literally back here in Mexico. So it completely complemented what we were doing here already in oGET. And just through this project, they were able to become the top 1 LC in 2016. So pretty impressive, right? Again, if you have any doubts or questions about this, you can for sure talk to Mel. But this is how that Isaac and Leon was really able to disrupt what they were doing. And the one that I haven't talked about, and the one I'm not going to provide a GCP on, is university relations, right? Because there hasn't been an LC so far that's really disrupted amazingly with university relations. But this is the one thing, like I said, the one thing that I think is non-negotiable is that if you are not working with UR in 2017, you are crazy. This, whoever you are, whatever cluster you're in, whatever team you're in, has to be a huge focus of how you do things in 2017. Because, like I said, if you look at the issues and the problems that this has, and the roadblocks that you'll have to be able to actually get to disrupt the way that you need to disrupt, you know, you have to think about how you can completely shift your customer flow, how you can really get the kind of people exactly that you need, how you get the endorsements you need, how you get the approval process shortened, how you get to create your own supply. And universities are literally the enabler that allows you to do so. because oGE and oGT are the most attractive products for universities. One of the most things that universities care about is how employable their students are, how many of them are able to go on and succeed in life and get jobs and to do and impact the world and do crazy things. This is literally the program that allows them to do that. Another thing to note, again, remember that right now ISIC in Mexico is doing a national approach to Tec de Monterrey to sell them GE, both IGE and oGE, right? So if you're working at all with Tec de Monterrey, I would seriously considering focusing in GE to how this national approach and to really capitalize on how you can work with that university, which is one of the most respected universities in all of Mexico. Another question to think about to ask yourself is, do you have a VPPR focused on creating a UR that should say macro, sorry, I don't know why it says micro, UR macro project? There's like more than 15 VPPRs for 2017. That means their purpose in your LC is literally to help grow the amount of exchanges that you do in OGX through university relations. So working with them is going to be key to actually disrupting your LC and to doing things you guys have never done before. So with all of these things that we just talked about, I know it was a lot of content. I want you guys to decompress a little bit, right? I'm going to give you 5 minutes to think about some of your thoughts with these questions. But of course, in the rest of planning with your predecessors, with your team, with your LCPs, everything, you can come back to these questions. But these are all questions you should have answers to for sure by the end of transition, right? So the first one is, how can I use all these things I just learned in my LC in the next year? Again, about growing disruptively is about having questions, questioning everything. The thing is, you need to again learn and respect what has happened in the past. So how can you take the good things and use those as a gateway to disrupt, right? Second, what should I focus on in 2017? GE or GT? Again, tier 5, tier 4, tier 3, this is a question you don't have to have the answer to now, but it's something you need to be thinking about through all of transition. Another question, how can I focus my attraction people completely on disruptive marketing, right? So, a lot of times right now, attraction people are focused on just calling and calling and calling and being a call center, which is not always the most enjoyable thing and also not always the most effective thing right now. How to optimize that process so that your attraction people are no longer a quote-unquote call center, as some people think. They're not just calling EPs and nurturing them from open to applicant, but they're actually getting the exact right kind of people you need as fast as you can in the best way. How can you even outsource attraction? The second thing, or the fourth thing, sorry, is how can you work with ICX and LC partnerships, offer in all these things to optimize the open to approval process to less than 2 weeks? Like I said, usually it takes between 4 and 8 weeks right now. So how come from when a person signs up to when they're approved, how can you make sure that this happens in less than 2 weeks? Imagine what this is going to do to your teams, to your TLs, to your LC, to you guys to see your impact so fast, and how much you can improve your conversion rate and how much you can disrupt by just doing this, right? Also, the last thing is to think about what's going on in my state, in my city, in my university. What opportunities are happening? What are their priorities? What is my university really focusing on in the next year? What is the government in my state really focusing on in the next year? And how can I capitalize on that? How can I work with them to create a project that enables more oGE or oGT exchanges? How can I work with my VPPR to do so? How can I do so myself if I don't have a VPPR? How can I really connect this to what genuine fairness means for ISIC in Mexico and ISIC 2020 and really being accessible to everyone everywhere? So I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes to kind of digest, write down your thoughts. But again, you should always come back to this through all transitions so you can have more answers. Start to thinking this way.
Definitivamente es algo que si ya nos tenemos que respetar y no es una preferencia. Entonces, aquí sé que es una chamba, pero sería bastante bueno que lo obviamente son superchingones. Entonces, eso va a pasar una modificación, nos vamos a dar un break de 5 minutos de modificación para que podamos hablar con todos los y ya no. Bien, entonces, ya tenemos esta discusión, vamos a seguir con esta discusión. Tenemos el número 8, que es
You're taking about 30 more seconds to finish up what you're writing, what you're thinking about. Okay, guys, so I hope that you have some good ideas, or at least some gears running in your head, and you're thinking about things differently, and you're thinking about cool new ideas that you can implement during your transition period. So again, this is the same thing that we talked about in the last webinar, but just some next steps for transition. I'm going to put this in every one that we do so you guys don't forget. Again, always listen, respect, and ask questions to your predecessor because you have so much to learn from them. The first, again, before strategy becomes people, and before people comes behaviors, and before behaviors becomes mindset. So to put yourself in the mindset of being the best VP oGET you can be, you need to dress, you need to act, and you need to talk like an entrepreneur would act. And that's how we can start changing these behaviors and changing our people and changing our strategies to be really disruptive. Next, find a mentor. Find somebody inside and or outside of ISEC that can help you through this whole experience. You can bounce ideas off of. That can be someone that's always there for you, that will be outside of your EV, outside of this whole network ourselves, right? Again, read a new book on entrepreneurship. Super, super important. Always be learning. It's one of our principles of disruption, right? And again, as always, become an EV manager, get on the ground, understand get to understand our customers more, get at least 3 approvals if you can, how the process works, how Expo works, all these things. The best thing you can do is just learn, not just by doing, but by getting things done. And by getting things done means getting 3 approvals, right? So that is it for today, guys. Don't forget to submit some feedback on our transition survey. The bit.ly is there. The output of all of our transitions will be in here. So the first bit.ly, the oGET transition 16-17, will have all the PPTs of the transition webinars. And the bit.ly oGET transition 1 is webinar 1, in case you missed that. And bit.ly/oGET transition 2 is this webinar, right? And don't forget our final webinar together, which will happen 1 week from today exactly. And this one is probably the one that you'll see as the most useful. It's on supply and demand, which is basically what to sell, how to sell it, and where to sell it. Okay? So I cannot wait to talk to you guys then. If you have any doubts or questions in the meantime, let me know. And I will see you guys soon. So if you have any doubts, I'll stay online on the WhatsApp group for a few more minutes so you can ask any questions. But I'm going to turn the webinar off now. So have an amazing night, guys. Love you already. Cannot wait to meet you in person. This weekend. Be safe. Have some shots for me. And I will talk to you soon. Bye. Bye, guys.